ஸ்ரீராம ஜெயம். எல்லாருக்கும் நமஸ்காரம். கத்தவிருக்ஷா வழங்கும் திருவோணம் திருநாள் நிகழ்ச்சியுடைய இன்றைய பகுதிக்கு உங்கள் எல்லாரையும் நான் வெல்கம் பண்ணுறேன். எல்லா மாதமும் நம்ம ஸ்ரவண நட்சத்திரத்தன்னைக்கு இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் சந்திக்கிறது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியில் ஒரு பகவத்கீதையோட ஸ்லோகமும் அதுக்கான மேலோட்டமான விளக்கம் மற்றும் டீட்டெயில்டு எக்ஸ்ப்ளனேஷன், அதுலேருந்து நம்ம கற்றுக்க வேண்டிய பாடங்கள் இது எல்லாத்தையுமே தெரிஞ்சுட்டு வந்துட்டுருக்கோம். மாதம் அதை நம்ம எல்லாருக்காகவும் ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணிடுறா Smt.Dr.Srividya Sathiyamoorthy அவர்கள். இந்த மாதம் பகவத்கீதையோடைய 3வது சாப்டர்லேருந்து ஒரு அற்புதமான ஸ்லோகம், நம்ம வாழ்க்கைக்கு தேவையான ஒரு முக்கியமான விஷயத்தை பற்றி நம்ம இந்த ஸ்லோகத்தில் தெரிஞ்சுக்க போகிறோம். அவளோடு சேர்ந்து இந்த ஸ்லோகம், அதுக்கான விளக்கம், அதுலேருந்து நம்ம கற்றுக்க வேண்டிய விஷயம் எல்லாத்தையும் தெரிஞ்சுட்டு அதை அனுபவிக்கலாம்.
Namaste, Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. As we move to the next episode, let us recollect that we were discussing the gunas in our last episode. In Sankhya Yoga, last time, we heard how Krishna is telling Arjuna that he should proceed beyond the 3 gunas and the dvandvas and perform the actions without expecting to achieve or maintain any kind of benefit, but with his mind on Krishna alone. Now we will see what Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 3 or Karma Yoga regarding gunas. Om Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Shri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha. Srimad Bhagavad Geetha Atha Tritiyodyayah Karma Yogaha. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Prakrute Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvashaha Ahankara Vimudhatma Kartahamiti Manyate Tattvavittu Mahabaho Gunakarma Vibhagayoho Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Madhvana Sajjate Prakrite Gunasammudhaha Sajjante Gunakarmasu Tana Kritsna Vido Mantan Kritsna Vinna Vichalayet. Om Tat Sat. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Geetha Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Yogo Nama Tritiyodhyayah. Here Krishna is saying all activities are carried out by the 3 modes of material nature, but in ignorance, the soul that is deluded by false identification with the body thinks of itself as the doer. O mighty Arjuna, illuminated people distinguish the soul as different from gunas and karmas. They perceive that it is only the gunas in the shape of senses, mind and others that move among the gunas in the shape of objects of perception, and thus they do not get entangled in them. Those who are deluded by the operation of the gunas become attached to the results of their actions. But the wise who understand these truths should not unsettle such ignorant people who know very little. So, having listened to the literal meaning, let us try to understand what Krishna is trying to teach here. Krishna always insisted that actions done without attachment are the noble actions. But how to perform such detached actions? How to develop the discrimination or viveka that is needed to distinguish between the noble or selfless actions from the selfish action or one with attachment? We can see that the natural phenomenon in the world are not usually controlled by us, but they are performed by Prakriti or Mother Nature. Now, for the actions of our own body, we usually think of them as two types. One is the natural functions such as digestion, circulation, heartbeat, etc., which we do not consciously execute, but they are happening naturally and automatically. And the second set of actions are things we do consciously, such as speaking, hearing, walking, sleeping, working, etc. Now, both of the types of works of the human body are performed by the body, mind, and senses path. All the parts of this mechanism are actually from the material energy or prakriti, which consists of three tendencies or attributes or gunas that are sattva of goodness, rajas of passion, and tamas of ignorance. Just like the ocean and its waves cannot be separated, similarly, we cannot separate our body from Mother Nature, from which it is created. So, the material energy or prakriti is the doer. But then, why does the soul think, the soul perceive that it itself is doing these activities? Why the spiritual ignorance in thinking that actions are performed by me? The reason is that we are in the grip of our ego, and in that way, the soul falsely identifies that it is itself the body. So it remains under the illusion of doership. It's because the desires are expressed at the intellectual level, then they become thoughts at the mental level and become actions at the physical level. But when at the mental level, the thoughts are actually being filtered or colored through our tendencies and are expressed as our actions in the outside world. So, as we think, so we do. Now, let us say, for example, there are two trains standing next to each other on a platform, and the passenger on one train fixes their eyes on the other. When the second train moves, they feel like the first one is moving. Likewise, the soul identifies with the Prakriti and it perceives that it is a doer of the action. The moment that soul can separate itself from the ego and surrender itself to the will of the Lord, it realizes that itself is not a doer. Now, then the question arises, if the soul is not the doer, then why is it implicated in the law of karma that actions are performed by body but the soul reincarnates? The reason is because the soul, it doesn't perform, but it thinks that it's performing the actions because of the senses mind intellect connection. For example, the charioteer doesn't pull the chariot himself, but he's actually directing the horses. But if there's an accident, the horse will not be blamed. It is the charioteer who's driving them. Similarly, the soul is responsible for the actions of mind and body because the inspiration is received from the soul for the mind, intellect, and sense connection. In the words of Swami Chinmayananda, in a dream, we create a world of our own. We identify with that world, and then we become the dreamer. We know that only the dreamer is experiencing the dream, and once they wake up, they are no more experiencing the dream. Similarly, our worldly actions are a reflection of our mind's vasanas or thought patterns or samskaras or impressions. But if we are attached to our mental conditions, then we get attached to the actions. So, in the next shloka, Krishna is addressing the people who know the difference. In the first shloka, he talks about the ignorant, the ahankara or the vimudhas, who think that they are the ones performing the action. In the next verse, he talks about that tattvavit or the knower of the truth. This person who knows the truth, he has abolished the ego, is free from the identifications of the body, and he is able to know the difference between the spiritual identity and the corporal body. So, the constant discriminating understanding that is in his mind, and the understanding the mind is projecting the actions, this tattvavit is not deluded into thinking of himself as the doer of the material action, but instead attributes every action to the movements of the three gunas. For example, saints like Kabir Das said, "Jo kare so hari kare, hota Kabir Kabir." So, whatever happens, God is doing everything. But people think that it's me who's doing it. So the wise or the tattvavit, they know about the divisions of the gunas and their functions. And they know that gunas can express as senses and move amidst senses, gunas as objects. Once they understand that tattvavit will not be attached to his action. Here, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna the Mahabahu, or the mighty armed warrior, that a true warrior is one who can fight the inner battles and win over his mind and attachments, and one who can act in a battle full of actions without surrendering to the weapons of attachment and delusion. So finally, Krishna says in the last shloka that the Vimudha or ignorant person who is an unknowing victim of his mental impressions or vasanas will act in the world with numerous attachments. But still, the Kritsnavit or the person with the knowledge should not suddenly try to change the mind of the Akritsnavit, the person without knowledge. This means that the wise should not force their thoughts onto the ignorant people by saying, "You are the soul, not the body. So don't do any karma, just give it up." Rather, they should instruct the ignorant to perform their respective karma and slowly help them to rise above attachment. We can end here with a story from the life of Saint Namdeva and his peer Saint Goroba in 2090s in Maharashtra. Goroba was a potter, and he realized while shaping and baking his pots that his own life should be properly molded and baked in the fire of desireless action. Slowly, with self-introspection and perfection, he attained an exalted status as an authority to judge the level of spiritual development in others. Both were intense bhaktas of Lord Panduranga, who is none other than Sri Krishna. Saint Namdev was at a point when he felt he was already so close to Panduranga, and he thought in his vanity that he had arrived where he needs to be. To help him realize his mistake, Panduranga sent him to Saint Goroba's place. Goroba was busy testing the strength of his pots by stroking them and tapping them with his testing instrument. When Namdev approached him, Goroba stroked Namdev's head and he tapped it with his instrument and declared that the pot is not yet fully baked, meaning that Namdev was yet to attain self-knowledge. After which point, Namdev accepted Visobha Kechara as his guru. Thank you for listening, and please give us your comments and feedback in the comment section. Until next time, Hari Om, Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Another important episode of Bhagavad Geetha. ஈகோ எவ்வளோ இம்பார்ட்டண்ட் ரோல் நம்ம லைஃப்பில் ப்ளே பண்ணுறது, டிசையர்லெஸ்னஸ் அப்படின்ற வார்த்தையோடைய இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸை உணர்ந்துண்டு அதை எப்படி நம்மளால் கொண்டு வர முடியும், இது எல்லாத்தையும் பகவான் அழகாக எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணியிருக்கார் இந்த ஸ்லோகம் மூலியமாக. கர்மயோகம் அப்படின்ற சாப்டரே பகவத்கீதாவில் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப முக்கியமான சாப்டர். அதுலேருந்து இன்றைக்கி ஒரு ஸ்லோகத்தை எடுத்து நம்ம எல்லாருக்காகவும் ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணதுக்காக ஸ்ரீமதி டாக்டர் ஸ்ரீவித்யா சத்யமூர்த்தி அவர்களுக்கு கத்தவருக்ஷா சார்பாக நன்றிகள், நமஸ்காரங்கள். ஐம் ஷுர் நீங்கள் எல்லாரும் இந்த எபிசோடை நல்லா எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் பண்ணியிருப்பேள். எல்லா மாதமும் ஸ்ரவணத்தன்னைக்கு ஒரு பகவத்கீதா ஸ்லோகத்தை கண்டிப்பாக தொடர்ந்து எல்லாரும் பார்த்துட்டோம், கேட்டுட்டோம், அனுபவிச்சுட்டோம். வாங்கோ, உங்களுடைய ஃபீட்பேக்கை எங்கள் கமெண்ட்ஸ் பாக்ஸில் மென்ஷன் பண்ணுங்கோ. உங்கள் யாருக்காவது ஸ்ரீமத் நாராயணியம், லக்ஷ்மி சஹஸ்ரநாமம், லலிதா சஹஸ்ரநாமம் இந்த மாதிரி ஸ்லோகங்கள் கற்றுக்கணும் அப்படின்ற இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருந்ததுன்னா அதை சொல்லி கொடுக்குறவாளுடைய காண்டாக்ட் டீட்டெயில்ஸ், அவளுடைய ஃப்ளையர் நான் இந்த வீடியோவில் இன்க்ளூட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். நீங்கள் அவளை காண்டாக்ட் பண்ணிட்டு என்ன ஸ்லோகம் வேணுமோ கற்றுக்கலாம். இன்னையோடைய திருவோணம் திருநாள் நிகழ்ச்சி நீங்கள் எல்லாரும் நல்லா ரசித்து கேட்டிருப்பேள் அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நீங்கள் எல்லாரும் கண்டிப்பாக கத்தவருக்ஷாவுடைய மை டெய்லி பாசுரம் அண்ட் தினம் ஒரு பிரபந்தம் நிகழ்ச்சி தமிழ் அண்ட் இங்கிலீஷில் கேட்டு அனுபவிச்சுட்டு வந்துருக்கேள், அதுலேருந்து நிறையா விஷயங்களும் தெரிஞ்சுட்டு வந்துருக்கேள் அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறேன். உங்கள் எல்லாரையும் மறுபடியும் ஒரு நல்ல நிகழ்ச்சியில் திருப்பி சந்திக்கிற வரைக்கும் நமஸ்காரம்.